London is the capital of England and it has centuries worth of history. Some of the history still haunts some places until this day. I have visited some of these haunted places in London and hope to see some paranormal activity, but I have never been successful. If you have had any paranormal experiences in and around London or any parts of the UK, you can let me know in the comments below. The Langham Hotel was one of the grand hotels in London. Built in 1864, it hosted two famous people like Mark Twain and music composer Antonin Dvorak. By the 1950s, the popularity of the hotel dwindled, and BBC moved in so it could broadcast some of their radio shows. It kept some of the rooms on the third floor for staff to stay in. One night in 1973, broadcaster James Alexander Gordon was in his room 333 when he was awoken by something not normal. When he awoke, he found a glowing orb on the other side of his room. As he stared at it, the orb shaped into a Victorian gentleman in formal wear. James asked the ghostly figure what did it want. This seemed to anger it, and it came at James with arms outstretched and eyes wide open. James got the courage to run out of his room downstairs to his doorman. He told his doorman what he had saw, and the doorman did not believe him, and he refused to accompany James back to his room. James, with very little choice, returned to his room, only to find the ghostly figure still there. It eventually vanished. James discussed what he had seen with his co-workers, and he had learned he was not the only one to see this apparition. Since then, the building has been refurbished into a luxury hotel, and is said to still have some hauntings in room 333, with one female guest staying in the room and then prematurely checking out without giving any reason why until a few days later in a letter. In it, she described seeing the ghost and it kept her awake by shaking the bed repeatedly. The Grenadier Pub was tucked away from the busy life of London, in its own hidden nook on Wilton Row. It is said to be London's most haunted pub. It was once used by soldiers to drink, gamble and mess around. One story surrounding the hauntings is that of a soldier. It is said he cheated in a card game that he was playing with his comrades. His comrades, angered by this, gave the soldier a severe beating that caused him to die from his injuries. It is unknown when or if this took place, but witnesses and staff have said that in September most of the supernatural activity happens, so it could be a possibility that this is when the soldier was dead. It has been reported that objects have been moved or vanished, tables and chairs rattled by an unseen entity, an icy chill is felt in the air which usually lasts for a few days, and a ghostly glow has been seen moving across rooms. Others have also claimed that they've heard footsteps pacing back and forth in empty rooms, and a low moan can be heard from the cellar. Graham Fox was head barman at the pub for a short time and had his own experiences with paranormal activity. On a winter's night, he was making his way down to the cellar to retrieve some cigars. Graham would have a quick cigarette break in the cellar when he could. While having a quick break, the landlord's cat Bobby appeared from nowhere. Not long after, the temperature had decreased, and Bobby the cat started to arc his back and hiss. Then the ice tray that Graham had been using was sitting on a chest, flew past his head and smashed against the wall. He quickly walked out of the cellar, slightly shaken, thinking he had imagined it all. In November of 1982, BBC crew had arrived at the pub to do a feature of the Grenadier Pub on the 6 o'clock show. The TV show was live and it was also covered by one of the magazines. A photographer who had been there came back a few weeks later to show the owner some photographs he had taken that night. He was standing at the restaurant entrance that faced out into the bar, and he took a few photographs. He realised there was something in the window, and zoomed in and in, thinking it was leaves from the tree outside. But the more he zoomed in, the face became clearer. The face is said to be of a young man with a dark moustache and wearing a hat. Do you think it's the young soldier who was killed by the comrades? Highgate Cemetery opened in 1839 and has graves scattered over 20 acres of land. Many sought to be buried there in the Victorian times, refusing to be buried anywhere else. Tens of thousands of people are said to be buried in the graveyard, including some famous characters like George Michael, Douglas Adams, and Claudia Jones. Families used to compete with each other in who gave their loved one the best resting place and the best gravestone. It was owned by a private company until the 1960s and was left abandoned until 1975. It was then rescued by the charity The Friends, and they have since then been refurbishing the damages caused by vandals and nature. Some of the hauntings that are said to happen in and around the surrounding area of the graveyard are that a ghost is seen crossing the road heading towards the graveyard and disappears into its walls. Glowing orbs have also been seen, and there are rumours that a vampire is buried in one of the mausoleums. People have visited the mausoleums in hoping to get a quick glance of this shadowy figure, bringing with them garlic, wooden stakes, and crosses. Another ghost that has been seen in and around the cemetery is that of an old woman who is apparently searching for her children, who is she said to have murdered in a fit of rage. Highgate is a place I've never got to visit in London, but on my next trip I will hopefully get the time to visit. If you have had any experiences with Highgate Cemetery or visited it, let me know in the comments below. I know a while back I covered haunted London underground stations, and I'm hoping to do that again, but this is one station that I had left out at the time and I'm going to cover it now. Elephant Castle was built in 1890 for the Northern Line. Witnesses have said that they've heard footsteps, odd tapping noises, and doors opening unexpectedly. The station is said to have its very own ghost of a lonely woman. The woman had been seen by staff and train drivers standing on the platform. She enters the train, but she is never seen getting off, and when the train is searched, she is nowhere to be seen. Thank you guys for watching, and if you like what you see, hit the subscribe button below, and I will see you all in my next video.